more analysis than news, August gonna August, and Drake-Kendrick is practically jerky. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by 30 years of been there, done that, and brought to you by NoDisc, helping music, technology, and finance companies navigate the music industry, and partnered with Digital Music News. It's August 18th, 2025. I'm Lars Murray in NYC. It's Monday, where we talk about what happened over the weekend and what is on deck for the week ahead. Over the weekend, well, there is more analysis than actual news to talk about today. Remember all the way back last month when the music industry was abuzz with the talk of Velvet Sundown, or The Velvet Sundown, an entirely AI non-artist artist blowing up on Spotify. Well, apparently recent weeks have brought a sunset of sorts for The Velvet Sundown. Their monthly listenership has fallen from 1.4 million back down to 600,000. Which ain't nothing, but that's one spiky career arc, even if you don't really exist. Though, to be fair, it's not a whole lot shorter of an arc than certain songs that have blown up on TikTok over the past year. Remember Unlimited Supply favorites Man in Finance and Money Money Green Green from 2024? Yeah, didn't think so. Dylan Smith takes a look at the implications of the Velvet Sundown and reads some of the tea leaves around Spotify's handling of the band, from playlisting to blocking releases over at Digital Music News. Are we at peak K-pop? Are we at a plateau? Or is it still on the way up? I'm betting on the latter, and if you want to know why, you can head over to Billboard and read Glenn Peoples' roundup of K-pop's booming Q2 results. As we've reported over the past few days, just about every public K-pop entity had big growth in Q2, up to doublings of earnings and even 400% profit growth year over year, with YG Entertainment leading the way on pure explosive growth. The K-pop industry is still figuring out how to even out its revenue streams, which are heavily dependent upon artist cycles, but some of that comes from just developing more artists. And the main reason I think K-pop has more upside is its continued infiltration of major territories with the emergence of groups like Cat's Eye, which will cause it to mutate and grow. Furthermore, K-pop marketing practices are increasingly informing other genres. Know your fans, own your data, and build community. Love it or hate it, or ignore it, there's a lot more juice to be squeezed from the K-pop lemon. Back over at Digital Music News, Paul Resnikoff took a look at the direct deal that Spotify did last week with Cobalt to lock in Cobalt publishing licenses rather than going through statutory rates. Paul correctly sussed out that it may be worth it for Spotify to pay slightly higher rates to publishers direct in order to lock in those rates rather than risk the possibility of a statutory rate hike by the Copyright Review Board. Because when you're guarding your stock price, predictability can be just as important as reducing the cost of content. Trust me, I know, having once been subject to a CRB DEFCON 2 alert at Pandora that never actually went DEFCON 1, but sure did mess with a lot of Christmas vacation plans, not to mention causing a lot of stock price jitters. Simply and cynically put, if Spotify knows what its rates will be into the future, they can then focus on raising prices on consumers and concocting more schemes like Bundlegate to tamp down their publishing obligations rather than worrying that an unfavorable CRB ruling will tank their stock price, which is, as we found in the past week, pretty sensitive to even the smallest bits of bad news. And when your stock price is booming like Spotify's, you have a long way to fall. Here at Unlimited Supply, we mostly try to stay out of artist legal issues and beefs and the like. You may have noticed we don't talk much about Diddy around here, or the latest convicted music industry malefactor, Sean Kingston. Unless it's Drake and Kendrick Lamar, whose beef last year had very measurable business and financial repercussions for Drake, Kendrick, and their Universal Music Group home. Well, all that unfolded in April and May of last year, but given that Drake decided to try to exact vengeance from UMG with a big fat lawsuit, here we are 15 months later, and this beef is practically jerky at this point. Last week, UMG head Lucian Grainge tagged into the ring by insisting he had never tagged in the first place. Drake's lawsuit accuses UMG and Grainge himself of having conspired with Kendrick to diss Drake and devalue Drake's catalog. After a long silence, Lucian decided to point out that UMG is hardly in the business of devaluing a catalog that it mostly owns. And while there can be no doubt that Universal was quite pleased with the Drake-Kendrick fire burning hot and fast in its corporate fireplace in 2024, it's reasonable and defensible for Grainge and UMG, to claim that they wouldn't be stupid enough to set the whole house on fire. In a case like this, the real winners are the lawyers, and thus Grainge went even further to accuse Drake of litigating frivolously in order to gain leverage in other undisclosed negotiations. Reminder to Drake, you're Canadian, buddy. Nuisance litigation is American, like pizza and tacos, not Canadian, like poutine and comedy. Americans do this all the time. Canadians? Well, you're supposed to be better than that. Looking at the week ahead, August is Augusting. I hope that as you listen to this, you are lying on a beach somewhere, sitting by a pool, flying down the highway with the top down, or some other appropriately summery activity. In the music industry, it's pretty much festivals this week, Reading and Leeds over in the UK. In the US, the Las Vegas Songwriters Festival is happening in sweltering Vegas, and other than that, that's about it. Though this is a podcast which warrants mention of Podcast Movement in sweltering Dallas, which starts today and which I am not attending. The Unlimited Supply pick of the week is a random link to something cool I've run across, something worth sharing that may or may not be current. Well, this week our pick is kind of current. It's the New York band Telescreens, who dropped into my feed over the weekend, and not for the first time. Telescreens are emerging as the latest great rock hope out of New York. Not surprisingly, a lot of folks are comparing them to the Strokes, which I don't really hear, but at the beginning of August, they dropped a live album recorded at Irving Plaza back in March. A live album makes sense for these guys. It's got a different, more intense energy than their studio output. It's more than a bit of a barn burner. And while Telescreens are independent with production value like you're hearing on this record, they have the sniff of major backing. Not that there's anything wrong with it if they so choose. Anyway, Telescreens live at Irving Plaza scratches a particular rock itch. It's streaming everywhere. Let me know if you agree. Support for the Unlimited Supply podcast is provided by RoyFi. If you're a label, distributor, or publisher and want to take advantage of other people's money and other people's technology to provide advances, let's sit down and talk. RoyFi offers the best rates and terms in the space, and they're mission-driven to give artists the independence they need. And by Hangout.fm, Hangout by Turntable Labs Inc., is the new social listening platform where users connect, discover new music, and play over 100 million songs with their friends and family. If you like what you hear, please hit that follow button wherever you get your pods. I live for your praise and encouragement, but it really helps if you share that praise as a rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify, and tell a friend or three. Links are in the show notes, but you can also visit unlimitedsupplypod.com to sign up for our newsletter, to tell us what you think about the show, to suggest feature ideas, to feed us info, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. I'm Lars Murray, and remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest.